Hello and welcome to round 2 of season 3 of the Automobilista Australia Touring Car Championship. And this week sees the boys head out to the Velo Citta circuit. It's ticked over to qualifying. Just waiting for obviously the track to go green, but it's going to be a very tricky evening for the lads, I reckon. It's a very tight and twisty circuit. The second half of the lap, very tight and twisty, but the first half of the lap is pretty quick and flowing. So it's fairly technical. There's only really a couple places where you can overtake, but being a touring car series, you can overtake just about anywhere. But qualifying just about to get underway, I should say. Just go through, and here he is, Wayne Whitmore, man of the moment. Quickest in practice with a pretty handy lap time, I believe a 34.3 going off the top of my head. I'll just bring up Liveracers just to confirm. And yep, it wasn't a 34.3, it was a 34.596. Steve Bulge was second fastest with a 35.2 in practice. So those guys, the quickest in practice, but what can they do in the one-shot qualifying? Just on Liveracers at the moment hasn't updated of the drivers out there at the moment, so hopefully that fixes itself shortly. But we'll follow Wayne Whitmore as he goes through the final couple corners. In fact, we're right on board for you guys. As you can see, he's navigating the long final corner there. It does open up a little bit, but it's going to be something to look out for with drivers. Probably running a little bit wide. That front left is going to cop a little bit of a beating there, but a lot of the corners around here are left-handers as well. So here we are into turn 1. It breaks about 105 down to second. A little bit of oversteer there. Probably needs to get on the throttle a little bit earlier. Still not a bad start to the lap. Nice run through turn 2. Now up through the fast flowing bit. Nice and flat up the hill there. And a lot of drivers going to lose the back end through here, as Whitmore demonstrated there, although kept the car nice and smooth though on the exit. It's a tricky corner. It is flat, but when the tyres do get worn, we'll see people understeer wide there. And now we're at the top of the hill. We're coming down to sort of like the dipper and corkscrew kind of chicane here. You can't see the entry, so you're on top of it. There it is. And down we go. You've got to be very patient through here. Don't get too greedy on the throttle because you will run wide. Or run wide, I should say. Now the last couple of corners. This one, very tricky. You can turn in early, you can turn in late. And now the final final turn really. It's been a pretty solid lap for Whitmore so far. And he sets, his time didn't count, so he must have got a track cut there. I did see him run wide there in one of the corners, so coming down the hill there, so that's probably where he picked up that track cut. Anyway, got Turmo on a lap at the moment. Liveracers, unfortunately, not wanting to play ball at the moment, so I can't tell you all the splits that are going on. Turmo now coming out of the final turn. He'll put the first time down, a 36.6. That's 4/10 off his personal best. A little bit off, obviously, the fastest times we saw in practice, but if you get near your best in a one-lap dash, hot or shootout style qualifying session should be pretty pleased. Now you got Brownie out there coming, looks like he's also at the final turn. And he will set, looks like a 1:37.3. And we've had River Whisper also set a lap time. I believe this is his first round of the season. He did miss the opening round. Oh, and that might be a track cut all over the grass there. Yep, I think he's abandoned it. So, and again, that was an out lap. As we see Whitmore return to the pits. Being unable to set a time, picking up a track cut. So, very easy to do. And it's going to be something to look out for in the race. We've had a couple races where, in other series, where people have been picking up drive-through penalties for track extending and the like. In the GD3, so we had, I think Phil Boak picked up about 7 or 8, and Miles picking up 12. And Monaco last night, there may have been 1 or 2 drivers picking up 1 or 2 around there as well. That was more down to the track being extremely sensitive. Anyway, got Dwayne Davies out there. He was pretty quick out there as well. He's about to begin his lap. Just have a look. Steve Bolger about to leave the pits. We've got Glenn Miles on a lap. Mike Coulston has started his lap, so we'll follow Mike Coulston around for his lap, and he's up 7/10 in the first split, so a solid start for him. If he was able to maintain it, it'll be 35.9, as we see Glenn Miles there, 2 seconds off Termo. Mike Coulston with the Nigel Mansell style helmet. Coming up to the dipper slash the corkscrew. He's lost a little bit of time in the middle sector. Ooh, and he's locked up there as well. So might lose a bit more time there as well. Doesn't get too greedy on the exit though. Ooh, bit of understeer on the exit there through the left-hander now through the final double apex turn. Hugging the inside. I reckon it's going to be close. I reckon he's lost a fair amount of time. Yeah, he lost another couple tenths, but still 36.3. That puts him P1 for now. And Cracker, he goes a second faster, 35.2. So I do believe that was his personal best. So he's looking pretty handy at the moment. And we've got Dwayne Davies out there. He's coming out of the final turn. What can he muster? Looking like a fairly competitive lap time. And it is a 34.2, fastest lap of the weekend. So Dwayne Davies has thrown down the gauntlet to Bretton Foley. Catch me if you can. Now we'll just have a look out there. Got Steve Bolger going through the first sector. What can he manage compared to Dwayne Davies? Down by 1 second, so he's made a mistake probably the first turn if I had to hazard a guess. But he'll still want to put in, because he can still get a decent starting position if he's able to put together a solid middle and final sector, or sectors. Now this is going to be an interesting bit. Very easy to overshoot. He's lost 3 tenths in the middle sector, but you can make up time in the final sector, but might have lost a little. Ooh, and I think, that might be a track cut, I reckon. That might be a track cut. He's kept on going, so maybe not. He did use he was over the curb by a fair mile, for a fair distance, I should say. He is pushing quite a lot in this final sector, trying to make up a bit of time. He'll be hoping to get in front of Cracker, because he's too far down on Davies. fact, he's lost a lot of time in that final sector. It is a 1:36.9, so it was promising. And yeah, that final sector costing him a lot of time. All right, so who else have we got out there? We've got Brenton Foley, Brendan Ross, and Ricky Slick out there at the moment. Is anyone else out there on a lap? No. We've got all these guys approaching the final turn, so we'll go. In fact, we will go with Brenton Foley. He's going to start us off. And we'll ride on board and see how he goes. It's a little bit later than what we saw with Whitmore earlier on. Oh, sorry, a little bit later. Nice and smooth through turn 1. A little bit of a wider entry. Still quite quick through turn 2 there. Sitting, using all the revs there. Third gear, up the hill, and he's up by a 10th. He's wringing the neck of that thing. Up the hill he goes, flat. For the left-hander. No, stuffed the braking point. Down to first gear. So he's given it everything. Nice exit. It's been a solid middle sector. And he's up by 5/10. We're looking at a 33. He's run wide. He's had to pull back to first gear just to make it there at the corkscrew. But he hasn't gone off the road, and I don't think he's lost too much time. Oh, that's a very good run through the penultimate corner there. And now through the final turn. Has to get off the throttle because he'll understeer wide if he kept his foot planted. It's been a solid lap, but I'm not sure. That mistake at the corkscrew might cost him, and it did. Did cost him 0.6 of a second. And Brendan Ross coming out of the final turn. What can he muster? 34.5. So Davies holds on. And Ricky Slick, he does a 35.9. So Davies is the only one to really fly out there. Foley did put a good lap in, but we did see a mistake in that final sector at the corkscrew, costing him a bit of time. And then just that understeer as well, that final corner, would have cost him as well. Brendan Ross, 10th adrift of Brenton Foley. So the front three sort of in a league of their own, but we have seen in practice that Whitmore is also capable of hitting the 34s. So got 4 guys sort of in their own class, 3 of them starting at the front, but Wayne Whitmore will be starting down the field, which will make it interesting for us. But for him, he'll probably be a bit frustrated. We shall be back. Hello and welcome back to Velo Citta and the Automobilista Australia Touring Car Championship. And I guess it's time, since got plenty of time of the warm-up, just to bring up a bit of information. So on your screen right there is the driver standings after round one. So Bretton Foley didn't win either race in round one, but 2 second places have given him the lead of the championship, which is significantly better than what he got in season 2, where he had, I believe, 0 points after having some internet connection issues and game crashing issues. So I believe he had 0 points. Anyway, he did DNF from at least one of those first races. And then we've got Brendan Ross on 37 points. He started his championship up very nicely and continuing his hot form from last season, or towards the end of last season. And we've got Wayne Whitmore, winner of one of the races last time out. That is why he's in front of Steve Bolger, who's also on 30 points. And then we've got Ricky Slick, followed by Termo on 24 points. Mike Coulston and Cracker, who were inseparable for quite a lot of both the races last time out. And then we have Brownie and Glenn Miles. Now flipping over to the team points. We only have, as you can see, 7 teams that have scored points at the moment. But that should hopefully change as the season goes on. We've got FCR Motorsport taking a 1-2. Well, 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship, and that would give them a considerable lead in the Team Championship, 77 points over Flat Spot Racing's 48, with Wayne Whitmore doing a very solid job, followed by Mike Coulston for Flat Spot Racing. So they've started their season off quite brightly. Cracker Racing Team didn't have the greatest individual results, but with both drivers finishing, and finishing, I believe they have finished in the same places in both races. But because there was 2 of their drivers as opposed to one FCR Motorsport Team Scouse driver, one Irwin Racing driver, that is why they are in front of both of those teams. And then we have Playboy Racing, the last of the teams, on 24 points. Now, another thing to bring up is the track. So a lot of people have probably never heard or seen of this circuit before, Velo Citta. It's actually a privately owned circuit. It's not one that's, I think some rich owner actually just owns it on his land, and have had various types of racing here in the past. And as you can see, pretty tricky. Well, as you've seen in qualifying from the onboards, but as you can see on the track map, quite a tricky little circuit, with the first half of the lap being fast and flowing and going up the hill, and then the second half being very tight and twisty. And as you can see, the circuit length 3.493 kilometers, 14 turns. And again, 2 races, the same as have been all throughout the Touring Car Championship. 2 races, with the second race being reverse grid. And the format 25 minutes plus. Once time expires and the leader crosses the start-finish line, 1 extra lap. And well, we do have weight or success ballast. It will not be brought in for this round. It will be used in from round 3 onwards. So that's something that I'm sure a few of the faster drivers are a little bit thankful for early in the season, not having to carry an extra passenger, well, an equivalent of an extra passenger on board. But yeah, it should be an interesting, I think we'll get an interesting couple races tonight, with this circuit being pretty tricky. A lot of places to find time over your competitors throughout the night if you've started a bit slowly, and there's also some other, obviously tyre wear I think will be a little bit of an issue with a few of the faster corners, where you can sort of take them flat when you've got new tyres, and you've got old tyres, you might not be able to do so. So smarter drivers might save their tyres just a bit better than a couple of the other guys that they're racing. And towards the end of the race, we might see that come into play. Now, it just got about 10 seconds left of the warm-up. So no drivers out there on the circuit at the moment, so I can't bring you any action, unfortunately. But we'll just wait for the server to tick over, and for race 1 of the second round of the Automobilista Australia Touring Car Championship to get underway. Alright, it's ticked over. Now we wait for the drivers to form up for the formation lap. As you can see, Brendan Ross is roaring and ready to go. And now Dwayne Davies starting from pole. First time in a while that he's started from there. In fact, it might be his, no, I don't think it's his first pole position, but I know he hasn't had many, that's for sure. But he put the lap in when it counted. And we've had Brenton Foley has disappeared, I believe. Looks like we're having some technical issues. We've had a couple drivers have some issues. So sorry about that. I've had to just restart there. I've had not one but a couple drivers get kicked. So we'll reset the warm-up and get it going. Do apologise for the hold-up. Unfortunately, AMS just doing AMS things. Just like last night in the Formula 1 at Monaco, where the safety car was thoroughly tested. And the first time it came out, it spun at the pits and crashed at the pit exit and was unable to go anywhere. So the race had to be red flagged at 13 laps. It was then restarted, and then with 5 laps to go, it was an incident that forced it to come out again. And no, in fact, there was another safety car in the middle of that race, and it went fine. And then there was, yes, another safety car with a couple laps to go, and well, yeah, 5 laps to go, and it spun at Rascasse and was driving into the wall. Didn't look like it was going anywhere, and I went to press escape, or did press escape to restart the server and just have a 5-lap dash at the end. But it somehow spun itself around and got going again. So just hashtag AMS things. I do apologise, but waiting on Brenton Foley to rejoin the server, and we'll be back racing. With Brenton Foley saying 4G let him down. Well, I keep trying to tell you 4G is not the long-term answer. You do need to have to do any kind of proper sim racing and it be reliable. You need a decent modem and a wired connection. It cannot be wireless. You can get away with it for a little while, but in the end it will bite you, as Brent Foley has just experienced. And he has entered the game, and hopefully the server remembers all the positions, because we're going. And it does. And I'll just wait once again and see if anybody else gets his kicked before I bring up the screen. But for those watching, if you do have any questions or anything to say, don't be afraid to type in the chat there, because it looks like Liveracers wants to be a little bit of a pain and not work today. Without there being a co-commentator, it can be difficult at times to find the right things to say when it's a bit quiet. Alright, looks like everybody has gotten through, and we should be able to go, although Dwayne Davies taken a long while to get onto the grid. No, there he is. And hopefully we're able to get away this time. Davies already begun to roll. He's very eager to get going. So Dwayne Davies will lead us away for race 1. Just setting pole position with a blistering 1 minute 34.2. And Brenton Foley alongside him. He was set to set a 1 minute 33, but a mistake at the corkscrew / dipper. I don't know, the Brazilian corkscrew. That's what we'll call it. The Brazilian corkscrew. He made a mistake. Just come in a little bit too hot, ran wide, had to pull first gear just to not go over onto the grass and get a cut track. But still managed a pretty decent lap. He's a 10th adrift. He'll start in 2nd place. And his teammate and championship rival, it has to be said, Brendan Ross, will start in 3rd place. Cracker doing a very solid job in qualifying to start 4th. With Ricky Slick alongside, who has been said not to enjoy this circuit. And we've got Mike Coulston in P6, followed by Termo P7. Steve Bolger, disappointing P8, but I think we'll see him move up through the field as the race progresses. We've got Brownie, Cracker Racing Team in P9. River Whisper in 10th place. Glenn Miles for Playboy Racing will start in 11th. And after getting a track cut for running just a little bit too wide here, well, not so much here, but the left-hander following it. It's this next left-hander here, just run a little bit too wide and picking up a track cut, and that means no lap for Whitmore, who is up there as one of the fast drivers around this circuit. So look for him to come through the field if you can avoid, well, he'll be hoping and we'll be hoping that he avoids the carnage and is able to get through the field and make a competitive race out of it between the top 5. Anyway, the safety car is in and we're about to get underway for race 1 of the 2nd round of the Automobilista Australia Touring Car Championship. And away we go. And it looks like Rossi looking up the inside, but a bit far back. But Foley trying to go around the outside of Dwayne Davies at turn 1. He's not going to make it stick, as Davies will have the inside for the next corner. But Davies a bit wide out of turn 2. And if Foley keeps his head, he's going to try and go around the outside up the hill, and he gets it done. So Foley, nice and decisive early on, doesn't make the mistake, and Ricky Slick's had a fantastic start. He's up a spot into 4th place, and having a look at the back of FCR Motorsport teammate Brendan Ross. Behind them, Crackers down a spot. Mike Coulston stayed in about the same position, but Termo looks like he's going to try and nick a spot and gets him. And Steve Bolger also having a look up the inside of Mike Coulston now, coming up to the Brazilian corkscrew. Coulston has a look up the back, a bit deep under brakes, and very interesting line. It's sort of balked Steve Bolger a little bit and forced him to have a look around the outside, but you're never going to get done through there. Far too twisty. But the front 4 have broken away. In fact, the front 2 of Foley and Davies have got about a second, as Davies has got a good run out of the final corner. it's not going to be close enough to make a move into turn one. But the front two have got a bit of a gap over Brendan Ross and Ricky Slick, and then they've got quite a big gap, 2.5 seconds over Cracker, who's got Turmo now up the inside to Turmo now up to P5, but very late on the brakes. A bit of contact there from Cracker, who was carrying a lot more speed through the corner, but they've now dropped into the clutch to Mike Coulston and Steve Bolger with Brownie also keeping a watching eye. Wayne Whitmore, he's struggled up to 10th, but gets past River Whisper, and he'll set his sights on Brownie in front. And with the pace that Whitmore was setting in practice, as we see, that's Miles. He's in the wall behind. As you can see, what has he done there to lose it? He shouldn't be able to lose the back end of these cars into that corner like that, but just right on board with him and see what he's done. But he is out after 1.5 laps. So he's looking up the inside and just, well, it looks like he just forgot to brake. And thankfully he didn't take another car with him, but Glenn Miles is out as he cuts a River Whisper off the road at the Brazilian Corkscrew. Might even be a track cut, and it looks like Ricky Slick there off the road there. Penultimate corner. Now he's got Turmo right behind him. He's having to defend coming into the final corner. Just cut back to a replay and see what has happened here. What has Ricky Slick done? Yeah, just come in too hot, and that's him onto the grass. And now into turn one. So having to go defensive as Turmo looking to try and make up time on the front three. Once again, Slick a little bit late on the brakes. He's carried pretty decent amount of speed through turn one. He's probably actually put a little bit of time on Turmo behind. Cracker now put a bit of a gap over Mike Coulston. Coulston has got Bolger all over the back, and we had a bit of a twitch there coming out of turn three. Now his teammate is now at the back of this pack is Mike Coulston with Brownie and Bolger battling out with Wayne Whitmore keeping a watching eye. Oh, is Brownie a bit wide there on the grass. Got the tank slapper on, but kept his foot in and straightened his car out, and had a little bit of contact with Steve Bolger, but no harm done. At least not for the moment, as Whitmore has a look up the inside, decides better of it, going into the Brazilian Corkscrew. And they continue to battle it out for the grand position of 7. It's now a 5-car battle with River Whisper joining onto the back of it. In fact, these guys are catching up to Ricky Slick, Turmo, and the Cracker battle, which has now started to form up. Cracker closing in. At the front, Brenton Foley leads by 0.3 of a second, and Brendan Ross is also closing. So the front three, they're forming a pack, and now we've got the Turmo and Ricky Slick Cracker battle, another 3-car battle pack, and then behind that we've got this 5-car pack headed by Mike Coulston and Steve Bolger, who looks like they've just broken away from Brownie, who was defending from Wayne Whitmore into turn 1. Whitmore not able to get it done this time. In fact, we're right on board with him. See how he takes first 3 corners, and he loses the back end. He didn't keep his foot in it. He got out of it, and well, he's off in the boonies, and that sends him now down to last place. He's going to have to focus and catch up to the back of River Whisper and get past him once again. So not been a solid start for him in this one. But Brownie holds on now to P9 and River Whisper up to P10. Bolger still harrying Mike Coulston for 7th place, but unable to get in front. In front of them, Ricky Slick badly holding up Turmo still. In fact, Turmo just got a little bit of overlap on the inside at the exit of the Brazilian Corkscrew, but Ricky Slick got the better exit and holds on for now. A bit of yo-yoing through the mid-corner, ultimate corner. Right on board, and we'll see the differences between the two. So you see Ricky Slick take the wider line, but Turmo looks like he's just got more drive at the moment. Slick unless he outbrakes himself, should hold on to P4 for now. He sets his personal best of a 37.5, but that's a considerable distance off what you want. At the front, though, Foley continues to be harried by Dwayne Davies. These two are inseparable at the moment. As Foley runs wide, and that's going to give Davies the chance, but he's going to have to go around the outside of this fast kink. Decides against it. Davies did lift, probably lifted too much. If he had lifted maybe a little bit less, he might have been able to set up a chance here into this left-hander. But it's a bit too generous there. They've sort of dropped Brendan Ross. He must have made a mistake on the last lap. But they've got an absolutely massive gap. 7.7 seconds of Ricky Slick behind, and that'll probably increase as we go up to the second split line. There it is, 8.1 seconds. It's a mistake there from Ricky Slick. Outbroke himself, but he has the inside for the next part of the corkscrew, and that's, well, made it quite awkward for Turmo. He's had to go onto the grass, and that's dropped him to the back of that pack, so he's dropped down to 8th, and now Cracker having a look at Ricky Slick, and in fact, Mike Coulson right there as well, he's looking to get a piece of that action. Coulston and Bulge have caught up quite a lot in this half a lap, so it'll be interesting to see. Ricky Slick a 38.9 for Cracker, 37.7, so 1.2 seconds, and that was all really at that corkscrew section. So Slick is struggling mightily here. Did say before the race that he didn't like this circuit, and you can see through the race as we see Mike Coulston running a bit wide there onto the grass at the exit of turn 2. He was right behind Cracker in front, and in fact that's now given Turmo a pretty decent run on him. And Bolger up the inside of Turmo, so those two are battling it out as well, because Bolger was in front of Turmo after his mistake, but Bolger must have made a mistake somewhere. We've got a yellow flag out, and it's Brenton Foley. Brenton Foley's made a mistake at the top of the hill there, so what has happened here? So once again, it looks like he's run wide. Didn't run off the road though, and there it is, he's run wide there at the fast kink, just going too fast, trying to probably take it flat out when he wasn't wide enough to do so, and that's something I did say to look out for, that fast left hand kink. When the tyres start to wear, it's not going to be flat, and now I've got Cracker up the inside, the penultimate corner, and he's got the job done, and Ricky Slick down to P5, and a bit of contact between Coulston and Bolger, so no love lost there, and that's dropped Bolger down to P8, and that moves Turmo back up to P7. Coulston, now he's done a pretty solid job to get to where he started, but he's had people in his wheel tracks the whole way, and now Turmo having a look up the inside into turn 1, and we've got Ricky Slick having a look up the inside of turn 1, so Turmo gets it done, a little bit of a serve and Cracker wide, so Ricky Slick now back up to P4, and Cracker now down to 8, so we'll just have a look on the replay though, and we'll see if there's a bit of contact, or if Cracker just outbroke himself. His personal best is a 36.7, Ricky Slick's is only a 37. Yes, so, sorry about that. Looks like Cracker just outbroke himself. Did a good job though of not losing the back end, kept his foot in it, and was nice and stable. But Bolger now finally up the inside of Coulston, but Coulston does the smart thing, breaks a little bit earlier and gets him on the switchback straight away. So Bolger must be sick of seeing the back of the Alitalia logo on that rear wing, and in fact now he's being passed by Cracker for P7. But he'll close his eyelids tonight, and all he will see is that black and white Alitalia rear wing. There's that Turmo now all over the back of Ricky Slick, but he's walked a bit, and Coulston had a bit of a go in the penultimate corner. Coulston had to almost like avoiding action, sort of going half off the road, trying to get the move done. Just allowed Slick to get a little bit of a gap, a little bit of breathing room. once again, Slick, massive lock-up into turn 1. And once again, looks like Crack a little bit wide, but not as wide as last time. And Bulger also onto the grass just a little bit. As you can see, these guys pushing the limits of these cars and these front tyres. As Coulston's had a good run up the hill, he's going to send it up the inside. He's run very wide though, and Turmo will take that back, as will Cracker. Coulston very aggressive, trying to get a move done. Having a crack, which is what we like to see. No contact, thankfully. But that dropped him down behind Cracker. As you see, Slick, he's run wide there, broke himself, locked up once again. And he's going to lose 3 spots. Well, no, he's only going to lose the 2. But Coulston will have a go. But Ricky Slick, not one to... Oh, little bit of contact between Coulston and Slick into the Brazilian corkscrew there. And thankfully, not a massive accident between the two, but I don't think Slick will be too happy. But thankfully, a massive accident has been avoided, but that has dropped Ricky Slick now behind Steve Bulger, who once again finds himself behind his nemesis for this race, Mike Coulston. And now we've got Turmo and Cracker battling it out for the final spot on the podium. We've still got, well, just under 12 minutes remaining. And Cracker giving it a red hot go. And Turmo finally recovering to where he was a little bit earlier in the race. But Turmo and Cracker will be glad that they've finally got past Ricky Slick, and we'll be able to see what their pace is now compared to the likes of Davies, Foley and Ross. Speaking of Brendan Ross and Dwayne Davies, 1.2 seconds covers these two, and the gap between Davies and Foley, I've noticed over the last few laps, has remained at about 9 seconds. So it hasn't really grown, it hasn't really shrunk, so both drivers very similarly paced. So it's a bit of a shame that Brendan Foley made that mistake there going up the top of the hill. Right, back to the battle for P4. I did say it was the final spot of the podium before. I do apologise. Turmo quite handy at the moment. Cracker is no slouch. That said, he has outbroke himself a little bit, has Cracker, and that's a compromised run through the corkscrew, and we've seen Steve Bulger has finally got past Mike Coulston, but Coulston is still there, ready to pounce. And with all the battling going on, Wayne Whitmore has caught up to the back of this pack as Ricky Slick runs wide of the penultimate corner again, and that will allow Wayne Whitmore now up into P8. But Ricky Slick wanting to get that position back, bit of contact with Whitmore. Whitmore keeps his foot in it and will hold position. Frustrated Ricky Slick was in 4th position for a lot of the race, but just not having the pace, has dropped down. Now it's at 9th place. But Whitmore, after having that, after going off early on at the top of the hill, has recovered with all the battling going on. And he's not too far from 4th place now. He has given himself a chance. Some nice consistent driving, no mistakes, to sneak a solid result. He's got now just his teammate in front of him, who seems to be catching quite quickly. And then just in front of them, there's Cracker and Turmo battling out. So they're holding each other up. And they're going to make it a 3-car battle as Turmo tries to get the switch back. Coming into the Brazilian corkscrew. But Cracker goes defensive and will hold on for now. Once again, locks up. Turmo trying to get him on the inside and get him on the switchback, but to no avail. It's a bit difficult there. And he runs very wide. That'll probably induce a track cut. And now Steve Bulger is right there and waiting for another Turmo mistake to move up another spot into P5. And all that going on with these guys slowing each other up and battling. Mike Coulston's now rejoined the battle. And guess what? Wayne Whitmore is there as well, as we see Brownie and Ricky Slick battling it out. And up the inside, Brownie just got that better drive, better front tyres. We haven't seen him locking up as often as Ricky Slick. But Ricky Slick will have the inside for turn 1. Up ahead though, Cracker holds on to P4 for now. But, he's up on the curb there. Would have compromised his run. And Turmo now, he's going to have a decent run up the hill. We have seen drivers try and make a move here up into the quick right-hander. But it's very easy to run wide. It's a very short braking zone, and there's off camber on the exit. So Turmo decides against it. His best bet now is to set it up to the left-hander after this kink. Both of them running a little bit wide, but Turmo just sends it up the inside. Cracker gives him the space. Turmo a little bit reluctant. We've got Steve Bolger out of nowhere. Out of nowhere has just appeared in front of Turmo. A bit of contact, unfortunately. And that's, well, Bolger without a rear wing now, and Turmo with front end damage. That's dropped, unfortunately, Turmo, who was looking to get past Cracker. That's dropped him behind the flat spot racing pair of Coulston and Whitmore. So Whitmore now up into 7th place. As Turmo goes off again. He might have an issue there. So we'll just have a look on the replay. So just try and find out what happened to Steve Bolger there. So Bolger just ran wide and unfortunately didn't hit the wall on the inside, but just straight to the middle of the racing line. There's nothing Steve Bolger and there was nothing that Turmo could do. So unfortunate, both drivers entering the pits. So that's their races pretty badly compromised. So you see Ricky Slick and Brownie continue the battle out. Mike Coulston's ran wide at turn 1. It allows his teammate now up into 5th, who had a shocking start of the race, but the race has sort of come to him, as has the drivers battling in front of him. But with that incident between Turmo and Bolger, that's held Whitmore up, and it's also given Cracker a bit of a head start, bit of an extra gap. And we've had Brenton Foley, looks like he's made another mistake. So we'll just have a look here, because he was fair way in front. Was a fair way in front of the 4th place driver Cracker there. So what's he done? Has he lost it at the kink again? No, he's just broke himself there at the hairpin. So perhaps he hadn't. Perhaps he's just made a mistake somewhere else. He finds himself 15 seconds behind our race leader, Dwayne Davies, and Brendan Ross, he's 5.1 seconds behind Dwayne Davies, who's been, has to be said, flawless so far in his Gold Ford Focus. Brendan Ross a 38.1 on that lap. He's 3 seconds off just about his personal best of the race. Brenton Foley a 39.1, not a great lap for him either, so front tyres at a premium at the moment. 37.4 for Cracker, so solid pace for him, and a 37.0 for Whitmore in P5. Coulston 39, Brownie 39.3, and Ricky Slick must have got a track cut there. And we've got River Whisper, who's kept clean. Hasn't had too much pace, but he's got all panels and all the wheels nice and straight, and he finds himself now at 9th position. As Ricky Slick continues to battle it out with Browning. Ricky Slick, who I'm sure was hoping for better things, but this racetrack just not suiting his driving style. So race has opened up a little bit, which is a bit unfortunate because we did have a couple raging battles for quite a lot of the race, but it has sort of died down a little bit. Ricky Slick hasn't had a good run through the first second. He's lost a bit of time actually to Brownie in front. I think the next battle we'll see is between Whitmore and Cracker. Whitmore gained quite a bit of time on this lap by the look of it. Obviously live races unfortunately still wanting to play up. Might have to sort that out between sessions. Whitmore travelling quite nicely. Just see the split between himself and Davies as he crosses the start-finish line here and see what the gap is. In fact, he gained a little bit on the leader, so he's only half a second off his personal best of the race. 36.5 for him, 36.9 for Cracker. So both of these guys travelling quite nicely, and they're only 3.9 away from Brenton Foley, but there's only probably about 3 or 3, maybe 4 at a stretch laps to go. So, barring mistake, they probably won't catch him, or if they do, they're going to have to work together and not battle until that final lap. But the way Whitmore's been going and the way Cracker's been battling, I don't see that happening. But it has to be said, after a poor qualifying effort and then going off on the, I think it was the second lap for Whitmore, it's been a pretty decent recovery drive for Wayne Whitmore. His teammate is had a fair old battle all race long. He'll be able to finally wipe the sweat off his brow after battling with Steve Bolger for pretty much all race. But also had battles with quite a number of the other drivers too. Once they went off the road and they Mike got in front. But he's also done a pretty solid job. And now the gap between Whitmore and Cracker under a second now, so 0.8 of a second. Gap between Cracker and Foley, 3.7 seconds. So just under 4 seconds. They're not really making any headway to the Toyota Corolla of Brenton Foley. That's it though, another 0.3 in the final sector. But yeah, under 2 minutes remaining, not going to be enough, I don't think. But I've said these things before, and half a lap later they're battling, so that's probably what's going to happen. Baby's now 6.6 seconds in front of Brendan Ross, but we'll stick with Cracker. And now, in fact, the gap's down to 2.6, so Foley hasn't had a good first split. Cracker and Whitmore driving quite nicely. Their tyres travelling along quite nicely. So you see Whitmore trying to do a Steve Bolger there, running a little bit wide, a bit risky, but kept it nice and straight this time. It's Cracker and Whitmore, as the race has gone on, they're travelling quite nicely. In fact, they've gained a couple seconds over Dwayne Davies on the last lap, at 1.5 seconds or so. That said though, Davies quite quick in the middle sector, and looks like under braking at least for the Brazilian corkscrew, Wayne Whitmore makes up a lot of time over Cracker, but Cracker in that first sector, at least on this lap, very, very quick. So 2.5 to Foley in front, and as you can see the visual, about just under a second to Whitmore behind. But if Cracker keeps driving the way he's driving at the moment, he should hold on to P4. Crosses the line, 37.2 for him, 36.7 for Whitmore. And a lot of that coming pretty much from the corkscrew to the start-finish line. So from the top of the hill down, Whitmore, that's his domain. It's very tight and twisty. Back right on board, Mr. Whitmore, to go up the hill. Gap now about 2 seconds between Cracker and Foley, so it is coming down, but I think they're just going to be a lap short. There's Whitmore, a little bit of a lock up there, a little bit of compression lock from Whitmore to that tight left-hander. Gets away with it for now. Yeah, looks like he's just a little bit quicker through the corkscrew, although he had to sort of just juggle it a bit there. In fact, lost a little bit of time this time out to Cracker in front. Made up a fair chunk of time in that final sector. Brenton Foley's not far away now. So the next lap, this will be the final lap of the race. 36.2, personal best for Cracker. And what a time to do it. 1.6 faster than Brenton Foley. And he still lost a 10th to Whitmore. But it is a good time to do it because Whitmore is quite pacey at the moment. But Cracker, as the race has gone on, has been quite good out there. And he's done it with Whitmore closing behind, so it's fantastic driving. When the pressure's on, Cracker has delivered so far. And he might even be able to sneak a podium if he can apply the blowtorches to the right spots to Brenton Foley. Has to lift just a little bit through that left-hand kink. That's Cracker, a little bit conservative, doesn't want to run wide, as we've seen Brenton Foley and Steve Bolger do. And so these feet nice and close now. Wayne Whitmore, got a couple of corners to go. We'll stick with these guys for now. Foley a little bit wide. It's going to allow Cracker to close in if he gets a decent run through this left-hander. Dwayne Davies now coming out of the final corner. We'll cut to him. And Dwayne Davies, a flawless drive, it has to be said, didn't get the greatest first lap and lost the lead to Brenton Foley, but has been flawless ever since. Brendan Ross will finish pretty quiet P2 in the end. And Brenton Foley, he did take the lead and led for quite a portion of the race. Fell away due to a couple of mistakes. And will just hold on to P3 with Cracker just improving as the race went on. And he was just able to hold on with Wayne Whitmore, fast finishing Wayne Whitmore right behind him. So those two racing and driving hard to the finish. Mike Coulston kept his cool under considerable pressure for a large portion of that race. Will finish quite handy P6 for Flat Spot Racing. Brownie will finish P7 in front of Ricky Slick, who had a fantastic opening couple laps, but this circuit just not gelling with the Hillbilly, and as we saw, lots of lockups and little mistakes. Did try to battle his way through it, but just didn't have the pace in the end. So he finishes in P8. River Whisper will finish in P9, followed by Termo in P10. After that unfortunate contact with Steve Bolger, obviously dropping him down the field. Nothing Termo could do, and Steve Bolger will finish in P11, one lap down after that mistake at the kink, sending him to the inside onto the grass and in front of an unfortunate Termo. Well, it's a fairly exciting battle in the midfield there for the entire race, really. But hopefully in the next one, we see a great battle for the top four. Anyway, we shall be back for race 2 shortly. welcome back. Just in the warm-up session here, 7.5 or 7 3/4 minutes to kill. And currently following, as you can see, Brendan Ross, second place getter, out there on circuit at the moment. I think of both he and Foley probably looking to find an answer to Dwayne Davies, who was mightily consistent, mightily quick in that first race. Well, both the FCR boys a bit inconsistent and just a little bit, not much, but just a little bit lacking pace-wise. So they're out there at the moment trying to put some rubber down on the circuit, as well as probably try and find a little gain here or there with the setup. I'll just try and I'll go through the result actually, and just keep Brenton Foley out there on the circuit for you. But I'll fill in the results and I'll be able to go through the championship standings with you. So got Dwayne Davies out there. I'll just follow Brendan Ross out there, but I'll just fill in the point standings. But Brendan Ross now in the lead of the championship with that. 1 point in front of his teammate. Wayne Whitmore moves to 30. Actually, no, sorry. Wayne Whitmore now moves to 42 points. Cracker moves to 32. Mike Coulson moves to 28. So Flat Spot Racing looking quite good for second in the team's championship at the moment. Sort of, well, they're a fair way behind FCR Motorsport, but they're quite a way in front of the next best team. Sorry about that, guys. I was just going over the points standings. I'll just go over it once again for you. I guess I did pause for you when I did enter 0, because that is my mute key. And I did type in 10 for Turbo. Anyway, just to go over the championship standings, we have Brendan Ross now in the championship lead on 57 points, followed by Brenton Foley on 56. And then we have Wayne Whitmore on 42. Ricky Slick is on 36, followed by Steve Bolger on 35, who'll be kicking himself after making that mistake right where Brendan Ross is there, sending him up the inside and into the path of Turmo, who had nowhere to go. Both of them finishing 10th and 11th. We have Turmo, speaking of, he's on 30 points. So both those guys probably would have moved up a place or two in the point standings had they not had that unfortunate incident, but is how it is. And then we've got Mike Coulston on 20. Oh, sorry, no. Then we have Cracker on 32 points. Once again, missed him. But there he is. He's on 32 points. And then Turmo and Coulston on 28. And then we have Brownie on 24, followed by Glenn Miles, Brian Walsh on 13 and 11, and of course Dwayne Davies, one race, one start, one win. He'll be hoping to replicate it in race 2 and get himself back in the championship hunt. But will be difficult around this circuit, which isn't the easiest to pass, but as we've seen, but it's also very easy to make a mistake, so we could see him move up a few points that way. Out there at the moment, Foley fastest with the 35.1. And we've got Steve Bolger out there, 36.1, and Brendan Ross, 36.4, who has just gone back to the pits, has just ticked over to the end of the session. Do we have anyone else out there? No, doesn't matter, because it's just ticked over. We do hope at some point that Live Racers does get going again, because it is a bit handy. But drivers now just forming up onto the grid, and it does sort of look like Live Racers is working, but we'll soon find out. No, it doesn't look like it's going to work, which is a bit of a shame. But anyway, these two just about to get underway here. As you can see on your screen, due to the incident between the two, and both of them finishing, both had to pit, and that dropped them well down the field. We've got Steve Bolger will lead us away. So they're in prime position, both himself and Turmo starting first and second. They're in prime position to sort of break away from those four fast guys that we've seen, being Wayne Whitmore, Dwayne Davies, both the FCR boys of Foley and Ross, and Dwayne Davies starting at the back. So if they can get a decent getaway, they'll be hoping to sprint away in the beginning and then just hold on at the end of the race. So if they're smart, they won't battle each other too hard, just build a gap. Because if they get stuck behind Ricky Slick, he is not going to let them pass easily, as we've seen. And Wayne Whitmore, he isn't too far behind, but we have seen he's been involved in a couple incidents. He's been just stuck and has struggled to get by people. So he'll be hoping to get by people quickly and give himself a chance of getting a race victory, because he is quite quick out there, and as we saw, he did take a win. He has taken a win already this season, winning the first race of the season at Goiânia. But just go through the grid. Then we've got Ricky Slick in 4th, Brownie in 5th position. By Mike Coulston in, seems to be habitual 6th and 7th places for him, but he'll be starting 6th. His teammate alongside in, well, not alongside, one row back in 7th. And we've got Cracker, who's fantastic towards the end of that race, as was Wayne Whitmore, it has to be said. Both of those guys travelling very, very nicely towards the end there. He'll start 8th. Then we've got Brenton Foley, who fell away as the race went on. He'll be hoping to rectify that here in race 2. We've got Brendan Ross in 10th place. Bit of a quiet race 2 for him, but he's now in the lead of the championship, and he'll be hoping to hold on to that. Followed by Dwayne Davies, our runaway race 1 winner, and Glenn Miles starting at the back due to a DNF in the first race. Alright, we just wait for Steve Bolger to hit the start-finish line, and we will be away. Away we go. There used to be no passing before the start-finish line, but after that it is all action. Once again, you've got Turmo trying to go around the outside. Bolger holds on for now. Ricky Slick is going to try and split them. No, he's going to try and go on the inside. Bit of contact between Turmo and Bolger. Turmo off into the boonies. Hopefully he doesn't rejoin in front of anybody. Everybody looks to have gotten out of the way, but a bit of contact between Cracker and I don't know if it was Ross or Foley. I think it was Foley. But unfortunately, Cracker now. Just have a look. And it looks like, no, Foley may have been ahead of him. So so it looked like just right on board. So Cracker was blindsided, and well, not so much blindsided, but Foley was checked up in front and had to slam on the brakes, and Cracker right behind both of them had nowhere to go, and another spin from Cracker there. Hopefully keeps it going, because we've seen how these races play out. If he just keeps it going, you'll get points, get a decent result. But Dwayne Davies hasn't moved up, and Miles, he's up 2 spots. Turmo 9th place, but he's at the back of the Brendan Ross, Wayne Whitmore, River Whisper and Brownie pack. Brownie moving all over the place. Also complained about moving in the braking zone in that race 1, so hopefully there's not too much of that this time around. Foley up into 4th place, so he got away with that contact with Cracker. Nothing Foley could do. He had to brake to obviously not run into the back of Brownie, I believe it was. But Steve Bolger into the lead. He's got past Ricky Slick. But Turmo will be kicking himself by dropping down the field after starting in such a promising position. Just too ambitious into turn 2. But he's going to have to work hard now to get himself back up the field. Early on though, it looks like, as you see, Cracker's gone around again. So, obviously, after that incident, he's sort of not got the mojo going. He may even have damage. Yeah, I think he's got a rib. I think he's got a puncture. I think he's got a puncture or suspension damage. No, you don't lose it like that without damage in these cars. Head though, Brownie, a little bit of contact with Brendan Ross. Ross up 4 spots though. And they're trying to close in on Wayne Whitmore, who, after all that, is up 2 spots, but hasn't really gained anything. In terms of the guys that you'd want to be in front of, like Whitmore starting in front of Brenton Foley, but he's behind him by a couple seconds, so he'll be hoping that Brenton Foley gets stuck behind Ricky Slick and Steve Bolger, and he'll also be hoping his teammate can probably get past him and get him into the game. Otherwise, if Foley hits the lead, he might not see him relinquish. But Steve Bolger leads, and I do hear Cracker leaving the pits. Hopefully no one runs into the back of him. 36.4 for Bolger. Not a bad lap time. So you see, Mike Coulson a little bit wide there at turn 1. And Whitmore now. He's got Brendan Ross actually closing in, as we see Cracker getting out of the way for Brownie and Turmo battling through turn 2. Turmo's going to try and go around the outside. And he holds on. And they're going to go side by side through turn 3. And they're going to go side by side up the hill. Brownie holds on for now, but Termo's going to try and send it up the inside, so the side-by-side once again. But Brownie holds on. He's not giving in. Doesn't want to give Termo P7 easily. And Brownie holds on for now. So you see Termo once again. He's going to make a dive into the hairpin at the top of the hill. He gets the job done for now. Gives Brownie space, but he will have the inside. The Brazilian corkscrew. He should take the position barring him outbraking himself. Which he did. But Brownie didn't have the greatest run through the chicane either. Behind them, Dwayne Davies is just a lap to Cracker. So Davies isn't travelling too quickly at the moment. So he's 9 seconds behind Ricky Slick, who's in the lead. And looks like he's letting Foley go. But they've got past Steve Bolger. So we'll just see what has happened here. Let's go back and have a look. Alright, so here's the fast left-hand kink. Dwayne Davies, fastest lap of the race. This was speaking of 34.6, very quick. But yeah, Ricky Slick nice and quick through that left-hand kink and then sent it up the inside at the hairpin. And then Bretton Foley thought he'd get a piece of that action. And had the inside run into the Brazilian corkscrew. And up into P2. Back live though. Steve Bolger's dropped off the back of Ricky Slick, 1.5 seconds back. And he's now got Mike Coulston, his nemesis from race 1. He's now closing in. So it's the other way around this time. Last time it was Mike Coulston hanging on for dear life. This time looks like it might be Steve Bolger. That said though, Coulston does have Brendan Ross and his teammate closing in. And they're also going to be applying the blowtorches. And well, there it is in one braking zone. It was a comfortable gap, but 0.8 of a second. It's now a cigarette paper. And it's going to be vital for both Whitmore and Ross to get by Coulston and Bolger as quickly as possible, because they do have decent pace in their cars, but they can't afford to let Brenton Foley get away. He's already about 3 to 4. He's about 4 seconds ahead of these guys already. So they'll want to get by these guys ASAP and then try and eat into that lead. As Coulston's in the mid-37s, as Brendan Ross has a 36.2 and a 37.9 for Whitmore, but both of their personal bests for this race are in the 35s. Behind them though, you've got Davies now battling out with Brownie. Looks like they've been at it all lap long, because Davies is 2 seconds slower on that lap compared to the lap before, where he set at 34 and the fastest lap of the race. So I'll just stick with this for now. As Brownie has been quite willing to chuck his car anywhere and try and stay in front, but he's run wide there, and that will give Davies a decent run now coming into the left-hand kink. But Davies a little bit too conservative, giving him space. He's going to have a look into the hairpin, but he's not going to be close enough. And in front of them, it's like Mike Coulston and Termo are battling it out. So Mike Coulston's made a mistake somewhere, and he's dropped behind his teammate. And now he's got Termo on the outside of him. So I'll just cut back. So coming into... that's not far back enough, so we'll just go back a little bit further. Alright, so coming up the hill, Mike Coulston, I think he's just going to... Yeah, it just gets a little bit too hot here through the right-hand kink, runs a bit wide, allows his teammate by, and Termo had a better run going up the hill. Oh, in fact, looks like Mike Coulston just got out of it to let his teammate go, and that put him under attack from Termo. So Termo now up to 6th, Coulston down into 7th, and Davies going to try and go around the outside of Brownie into turn 1. Brownie very late on the brakes. Davies going to try and get him on the switchback and will get it done, which he'll be thankful for, because he's lost about 2 seconds a lap, or 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap, being battling with Brownie there for the last couple of laps. And he's now 12 seconds behind Brenton Foley, who's in the lead, as we've got yellow flags out. So someone's had it off. And we've had Wayne Whitmore disappear. He's going down the hill. He might get himself disqualified. He looks like he's going the wrong way there. He's found his way back. So what has happened here? We're right on board. He's ran wide. He's got on the grass. And he's gone. He's gone up the hill. And he's thought he could cut to the inside of the track. No, there's a barrier there, my friend. And, well, he really is off in the boonies. He's gone on safari. Wayne Whitmore on safari. And he's also now down in 11th place. So he finds he's got a lot of work to do now to salvage results. So things just aren't going his way. He has the pace to get some good results and fight for the championship. But he's his own worst enemy at times. So he's down in 11th. Miles a double log up there to the corkscrew. And there's the two CRT boys, but unfortunately Cracker a lap down. Bit of a shame for him because he has some decent pace as well. And Dwayne Davies catching quite quickly onto the back of Coulson. 35.6 for Davies on that lap. 1.2 seconds faster than Coulson, who set his personal best for this race at a 36.8. But he still finds himself a bit over a second slower than Dwayne Davies. As Davies continues to push. A bit conservative behind Coulson. He just wants to keep his car nice and straight and keep his tyres probably in mint condition. And he'll be hoping to give himself just a ticket. Even though it might be a very small ticket with very little probability of a win. But he's still 4 seconds off Ricky Slick in second. So he is a chance. A very good chance of second place as he sort of foxes Coulson into outbraking himself there at the hairpin. Coulson probably looking in his mirrors a little bit too much there at Dwayne Davies. It sort of looked like he was going to career into the back of him, but he didn't. And then Coulson got on the accelerator again, and Davies up the inside, and he gets the job done into the Brazilian corkscrew, and there's no way back from there if the corner picks it up. But I think there's a bit of contact there, both of them a bit sideways. But costing Coulson a bit of time, and cost Davies a little bit of time as well, but not too much. And as you can see, Ricky Slick, he's got a massive train, or very aggressive train behind him. You saw this in race 1. He's not going to let people go easily. With the podium on the line, and with the grouchy hillbilly, he's not going to let you go easily. So he's gone defensive. Now he's gone straight to the outside. And then sweeps in front of Steve Bolger. He wasn't close enough to get the job done. So these three cars battling quite heavily. And then you got Turmo, lost a little bit of time towards the end of that lap as we see Bolger on the grass a little. He's going to send it up the inside. He's going to be too hot. Slick's going to take the position back, and that might compromise him. Might see Brendan Ross get a decent run. In fact, we will. He's going to try and go around the outside. Very ballsy. And it compromised both of them. So they both lost out. And Ross, a very late switch back up the inside at the hairpin. Gets it done. And now Turmo now having a look. Trying to go around the outside. Bit of contact between Turmo and Bolger. Turmo keeps his foot in it. And he gets the position. So Bolger, that move to try and get past Ricky Slick, too aggressive. And that's even cost him position to Dwayne Davies. But Bolger does have the inside at the hairpin. Hasn't had the optimal run through, and Davies does give up the position in the end, but I think there'll be quite a big flat spot on the front left of Steve Bolger's tyre there. Driving on a 50-cent piece, but the battle pack that was 3, it's now 5. And it was a bee's nest that was already shaken up. Well, someone's just picked it up and kicked it like a football because they're all very angry at this point, I think. Ricky Slick currently heads it. Foley, though, 10.5 seconds in front of these guys. 37.2 for Ricky Slick. And Ross tries to get the move done up the inside, out breaks himself, and Ricky Slick says, nope, not today, son. No, Ricky Slick just a bit too smart there. But he has ran wide on the exit of turn 2. Ross will have the better run, but will he take the chance at the top of the hill here? We have seen drivers try and pass into here, but it's just too quick to get it done. Slick, a big lock-up. He'll be on a 50-cent piece now. And once again, Brendan Ross will be going side by side with someone through the left-hand kink here. Turmo might be in the best position, but Brendan Ross holds on around the outside, but Slick will try and get that position back up the inside. They go 3 wide, bit of contact. And Turmo very wide, and Bolger now back up into 4th place. And, thank God for Helicam to give us a much better view of it. And Dwayne Davies keeping a watching eye, but looks like Brendan Ross now up into P2. And Bolger is going to try up the inside of Turmo. But he has held it around the outside. Bit of contact, and it's going to force Turmo a little bit wide. But looks like Bolger will hold on for now. But Turmo is late on the brakes. So they've been side by side for half a lap now. But yeah, that left hand just a little bit too long. That's it though. Turmo still not giving up. Bolger a little bit wide, but Turmo holds on to P4 for now. And that's given Ricky Slick in front just a little bit of breathing room. But these three battling very hard. And Dwayne Davies now trying to go around the outside of Steve Bolger into turn 1. And Mike Coulston's also joining the fray. And lap down is Cracker right there. He'll be kicking himself. He's not part of it for position. And now Dwayne Davies up the inside into turn 2. But very wide, as was Turmo. Keeps his foot in it, does Davies, but still loses out. And he might lose out to Coulston as well, and he does. So very frustrating for Dwayne Davies fans. Just a bit too aggressive there on the throttle. And that's cost him a position. He has to get past Mike Coulston again. And he's going to have to battle to get past Steve Bolger. And Ross a little bit wide there, as was Ricky Slick. Turmo right there too. So probably see an FCR 1-2. I don't think we'll see Ricky Slick stay with Brendan Ross barring a mistake. It's all up to really Turmo, I think, if he can keep his cool and get past Ricky Slick. He may be able to challenge Brendan Ross, but I don't think he quite has the pace to see another lock up into the penultimate corner there from Ricky Slick. And possibly Dwayne Davies, but Davies is probably he's gonna have to be a little bit more aggressive through the. Obviously, when he's trying to overtake these cars in front of him, otherwise he's just gonna get stuck in these little no man's land passing maneuvers, as we saw before. It's very late on the brakes into turn 1. He's up the inside of Bolger. Bolger had to give him a bit of room. But couldn't quite carry the speed through the corner, but Bolger holds on for now, as we see Turmo all over the back of the rear bumper of Ricky Slick. Just up the road there. So a good run up the hill for Dwayne Davies. Goes to the outside, looking to try and get the switch back on Bolger. Maybe even trying to avoid contact even, but he's lost out just a bit of time. But despite that, they're just edging a little bit closer to Turmo. Turmo having a look up the inside ahead on Ricky Slick. Out brakes himself, a little bit of contact, and Ricky Slick just says, no, I'll take that back, son. And Ricky Slick holds on to 3rd place. He wants to get a podium here. And Bolger behind. He goes defensive. Davies later on the brakes. He's much more efficient on the brakes. They all get through there safely. Ricky Slick, though, much slower than Turmo, Bolger, and Dwayne Davies. Once again, another lock up into the penultimate corner, but Turmo not able to capitalise. We see Brendan Ross there off the road. So there's that inconsistency that we saw in race 1 from both Foley and Ross. Although this time I don't think we have seen Foley off the road, but he hasn't really had to push. Once again, I think we're going to have two battles. We're going to have 2 cars side by side here. Yep, Davies up the inside of Bolger. And Turmo outbroke himself, and that's it was going to be 2 places in 1 for Dwayne Davies, but in fact it's going to be 2 places for Steve Bolger into turn 1, as both Davies and Turmo outbroke themselves, and there might have even been a little bit of contact there in the exit of turn 2. And now it's Steve Bolger going to try and get past Ricky Slick. So it's batter up. The next one up as Turmo drops away, and it looked like Davies was going to be the one battling Slick, but he also just couldn't quite carry the speed in the exit of turn 1. Turmo now having a look, big dive up the inside of Bolger, contact, and that's going to cost Turmo a little bit of time, and that's going to allow Dwayne Davies up you'd think he'd send it up the inside, and they might even go 3 wide into the chicane. Davies now. No, Turmo's going to try and hold on around the outside. As is Davies. Davies a little bit wide, but he will have the inside for the long left-hander down the hill. And Davies now up into P5. So he gets that spot back vitally for him. And Coulston having a look up the inside of Turmo, and he gets the job done. So Coulston hasn't really got the pace, outright speed of these guys, but through clean driving and some smart driving, up into where he started in P6 and ahead of Turmo, who has been much quicker throughout this race. And now Davies much quicker in that final sector. Side by side with Bolger, just moves over him on the straight. A little bit silly there, but side by side, another lock up for Ricky Slick into turn 1. And I think Slick will be hoping that Davies and Bolger continue the battle. Davies has a look into turn 2. Now there's a cigarette paper between all 3 of them, as I don't think Slick had the greatest exit. Bolger trying to go around the outside, then up the inside, up the hill, but he's not going to be close enough or alongside far enough. And Davies going to try and go around the outside of the kink, and he's going to do it. That's a fantastic manoeuvre around the outside of the kink at the top of the hill from Dwayne Davies. You'd think he was just predicting that Bolger would get held up by Slick in front of him, and it's exactly what happened. And Davies very opportunistic up into 4th now and behind Ricky Slick, but now he's got to deal with the much slower Ricky Slick. But still very fine overtake from Dwayne Davies, very reminiscent of Eddie Irvine around the long right hand corner at Suzuka over Michael Schumacher and I think it was one of the McLarens back in 1997. Fantastic manoeuvre from Davies. But now he's got the very difficult job. He's got to get past Ricky Slick, who's not made it easy for anyone all night. And he's got to do it in a way that doesn't cost him too much time to Steve Bolger and Coulston, who continues to stay in front of Turmo. And there it is. So Davies up the inside of the final turn. Slick's going to try and get the switch back on, but I don't think he's going to get it done around the outside, barring Dwayne Davies out-braking himself. So we'll just have a look. Davies, oh, he is late on the brakes, and yes, he's too late on the brakes, and that's going to allow even Steve Bolger up the inside perhaps into turn 2. No, but it's let Ricky Slick go. So once again, drivers just too eager, too late on the brakes. Just got to get it stopped when they get past Ricky Slick. Because I think Bolger just clipped the back of Dwayne Davies there going up the hill, and that sent him around. There was contact with another car there, and it looks like that was a cracker there. He was a lap down, but unfortunate. But it hasn't lost Bolger too much time. He still is within a shout to get a podium, and I don't know if there's contact there, but Slick is wide and Davies is through, so we'll just cut back. No, in fact, it looked like it's contact between Coulston and contact between Mike Coulston and Steve Bolger there. Judging by that replay, probably need to have another look later, but we're right on board this replay to see what happened between Davies and Slick. Was there contact? No. Ricky Slick just outbroke himself, and look at that. Down the hill, Dwayne Davies, massive gap over Turmo already, 1.5 seconds. But Turmo has vitally got past Ricky Slick, who has DNF. What has happened here? Contact with Coulston. Coulston very late on the brakes, and Ricky Slick tried to cut the chicane to keep position, but put him in the wall, and as you can see, spinning like a top there on the barrier. I'll just actually have another look at that. So this is a replay from on board, and that is very late. Yeah, unfortunately, Slick did try to just get across the chicane there, and this barrier on the other side, which put him put him out of the race, which is a bit of a shame because he does provide a lot of action in all the races he races in, and he's quite the character. But Dwayne Davies now, he's got 8 seconds to Ross up the road with a minute remaining, so bit of a shame for Davies. He couldn't get those moves done earlier, but still he's recovered to P3. But it will be another FCR Motorsport 1-2, barring some catastrophic changes. It's the big battle now. It's between 4th place. We've got Turmo, Mike Coulston and Steve Bolger all battling it out. Coulston's been quite aggressive in this one. I think Steve Bolger will be a little frustrated after being turned around by Coulston going up the hill. At least that's what it looked like from our camera views. As I said, probably do need another look at it. But Coulston, he'll be wanting to take home P4. Turmo, as you can see, 35.9, his fastest lap, but the consistency at the end of this race just hasn't been there. It's a 38, so he's a good 2.5, 3 seconds off what he was setting a lot earlier in the race. Coulston's fairly close to his pace, 37's. I think a high 36, I believe, was his personal best that we saw early on in the race. So had a good run up the hill, though. He's going to try it, pass it at the hill, and he's done it, at least for now. So not a good run from Turmo. He does have the inside for the kink, but Coulston's going to try and go around the outside. Does run a little bit wide. Turmo has the inside for the hairpin, but Turmo runs wide. A little bit of contact with Coulston, but Coulston would have got the move done anyway. And Coulston up into 4th for now. His nose just in front of Turmo up to the chicane. Does brake very late though, does Coulston. But he just holds on. But yeah, that first sector, Coulston just hooking it up, and Turmo must have made a just slight mistake somewhere, as he does there, and that's going to balk Steve Bolger and Cracker there, and give Mike Coulston a little bit of space, and then Turmo runs wide on the exit, gives Bolger the chance to get by, but not quite close enough. So you can see a lot of understeer there from Turmo. His front tyres must be shot. He's got Bolger all over the back of him. Will Bolger send it? Will Cracker send it? He's a lap down. He's just having a look for now, but Bolger sends it up the inside. He pulls it up this time and he gets the job done. So Steve Bolger now up to P5, Turmo down to P6. Hasn't been a good couple laps for Turmo, but Bolger runs a bit wide and it's going to give Turmo now a chance up the hill to redeem himself, as we have our leaders on the final lap of the race. Yeah, so Brenton Foley at the Brazilian corkscrew, just coming down it now. Got a 13.5 seconds over Brendan Ross. Foley's just cruising. Looks like he's going to try and bring home the formation finish for FCR. Just waiting for him by the looks of it. Good photo op for the team. Dwayne Davies, about 7 seconds adrift of those two. Yeah, so see Foley now starting just to accelerate just a little bit. So we'll see a photo finish. Behind them, though, Steve Bolger and Turmo continue to battle it out, but we'll jump to the front. Lights ablaze. Lights flashing for FCR Motorsport 1-2 with Brenton Foley first. Brendan Ross second. Dwayne Davies recovers to P3 in the end. And the battle for 4th place. Well, that actually goes to Mike Coulston, but for 5th place, I should say, Steve Bolger holds on. And Turmo will finish in P6 as Turmo writes his car off. And we have someone out there doing reverse doughies. Better cut to it. There it is, Brenton Foley, reverse doughies. That's what we like to see. No one else out there doing doughies, so they should all get sacked. But that said, Brendan Ross out there has hit a rock. So rest in peace, Rossi. And we've got Glenn Miles coming out of the final turn. He'll finish very handy for Playboy Racing. Very handy P7. His personal best of 38.3, and he'll finish in front of River Whisper in 8th place. And then we have Cracker and Whitmore both of them a lap down in 9th and 10 places, with Ricky Slick and Brownie the 2 DNF. So Brownie did DNF somewhere. We didn't pick it up on our camera, so we do apologise for not picking that up. And Ricky Slick being the other after going off at the chicane and hitting a tyre wall that I doubt he'd seen before. So unfortunate for him. But for his teammates, though, fantastic round, with both of them finishing in 2nd and 3rd in the first race, and 1st and 2nd in the second. Well, we haven't been joined in the commentary box by Dwayne Davies, so we'll cut to our race 2 winner, Bretton Foley. Well, Bretton, you didn't have the greatest qualifying session. You look like you're on par for pole. You're going to get it. You're going to set a 33, but you just messed up at the top of the hill there at the Brazilian corkscrew, and it sort of just fell apart from then on. But you still managed to get, obviously, start on the front row, and then you jumped into the lead in race 1 there.
Yeah, pretty much exactly as you said. As soon as I jumped on the brake down for the chicane in that quali lap, it just instantly locked the inside front. So I had to either let go or run straight ahead. So I'd let go of it, and then it just ruined my run for the second part of the chicane. So completely lost all the time there. But yeah, had a good battle with Dwayne in the first race. Made a few mistakes. My tyre wear was terrible. I'm pretty sure it was the way that I was driving the car. But fixed that for the second race, changed a few things, and turned out really well.
Well, it's difficult to see or to really say that you had those issues in the second race, or that you fixed them, because you're so far out in front by the time Brendan Ross and Dwayne Davies got past Ricky Slick behind you that didn't really matter.
Yeah, I got lucky with that one, that I was able to get a bit of a gap early on, and kind of then just circulate and protect the tyres as much as I could.
But yeah, that first race, obviously, you did have that nice battle between yourself and Davies, with both of you pretty much being identical pace, with really probably only a tenth or two at most in Dwayne's favour. But as you said, that tyre wear just being a bit worse off on your end, but you did make a couple little uncharacteristic mistakes, and you almost cost yourself a podium in the end, with Cracker and Wayne Whitmore closing in just towards the end of that race.
Yeah, I don't know the turn number. Just before that hairpin that leads onto the back straight, I ran wide, and it was either going to the fence or turn right, so the opposite direction, and I chose that to protect the car, and yeah, from there it kind of ruined my rhythm a little bit, and both races, by the end of the race, I had the front bar on the lowest it could go and the rear bar on the highest, absolute highest it could go, and I still couldn't get it to turn. So yeah, I just held on for the podium at the end, thankfully, but it was a good race.
It was. It's good to see a couple of guys out there battling for the lead and having nothing really between them with in terms of a lap time. Hopefully we see that throughout the remainder of the season. And then obviously, yeah, that second race, you're able to once again put in a very clean first lap. You're able to get past cars when you needed to, even though you started at the back. And then early on, got yourself in the lead and just disappeared, which is you've sort of made a bit of a trademark of that throughout your touring car racing career.
Yeah, I really, really enjoy the reverse grid races, just kind of slotting the car in gaps early on when people leave them open. And yeah, as you said, I really made the most of that first lap. Everyone just, especially at turn 1 and turn 2, everyone just left the door open, so I just drove straight on by.
Well, they left the door open, and you sat yourself out on their couch, grabbed a drink, and well, enjoyed the win in the end. So once again, congratulations on a third and a first place.
Thanks very much.
All right, so we will cut to our pole sitter and our race 1 winner in Dwayne Davies. Well, Dwayne, you put a pretty handy lap down in qualifying, nice and clean, compared to your rivals who did have pace, but you were able just to obviously not make that vital mistake. didn't quite get a obviously first opening lap or two. You didn't go through there as well as what you would have liked by losing the lead, but your tyre wear obviously much less than Brenton Foley's by the look of it, and you're able to be much more consistent because of it. And obviously that led to fantastic race one victory.
Yeah, cheers, Lewis. Yeah, I was surprised at Wayne's time. I think he obviously made a mistake and he didn't really set one. And then I saw Foley was up, but then he made a last in the chicane, made an error. So that got that one. But then, yeah, Foley got me on the. I found it hard to pass actually on this track because every time you got up the inside, they were on the inside for the next corner. So it was a bit tricky, but it was good fun and good racing.
It certainly was, and yeah, obviously that's that first race. Well, once Foley fell away, you were quite comfortable in the lead. You were able to set some nice, consistent lap times. In the second race, though, you looked a little bit timid racing other guys. And it looked like you just wanted to get your way past guys nice and cleanly without any damage. But it did come to obviously towards the end of it where there was a big angry battle pack that you did sort of have to force your way through there in the end to get yourself up onto that podium.
Yeah, I've had a month and a half off, and I was a bit from coming from the back. I hadn't raced around anyone, so I was a bit, where are they? But yeah, I just probably wasn't aggressive enough in the end and didn't throw it down where I thought I could have, but I should have. But yeah, I noticed in the first race as well with the tyre where you were saying, I was using second gear through everything, whereas I think Foley and that were using first because I could just hear him spinning. So when I was behind him, I just sort of sat and used second a lot or the whole time, and it seemed to help a lot.
Yeah, we did see a number of drivers, especially going pretty much down the hill there from the corkscrew in particular was one corner where we did see a lot of drivers just over driving it a little bit. I think another place where you did seem to gain a lot of time was the braking for the corkscrew. You seem to be able to brake a lot later, about 5 or so meters later than everybody, but you're able to pull it up while those around you seem to always just brake that in a way that would make them understeer wide, which obviously would be nice if you were in front of them, but when you're trying to race them and you're stuck behind them, it did end up balking you quite a bit. So I would imagine that would have been quite frustrating for a lot of that second race there.
I think I was more frustrated. Yeah, I was very frustrated when I got onto the back of that whole pack. I threw it in a few times and I outbraked myself, and then I lost the position back, and that was just frustration because I just couldn't get past them. Some of those braking bits where I was quicker. But yeah, you're right. It was. I found it's just you had to be dead straight on before that chicane or that corkscrew, and then turn in, other than just sort of easing it off the brakes. I just found a full dead brake in a straight line was better.
Yeah, well, a fantastic return for you in the Touring Car Championship. We do hope that you're able to make a significant portion of the rounds this season and give Brett and Foley and the FCR boys a bit of a run for their money.
Yeah, somebody needs to. So I think all of us need to just ram him or something.
Well, maybe. But well done on your pole position. Well done on your race 2 victory, or race 1 victory, and well done on third place in the second race.
Cheers, buddy.
All right, and so we'll cut to Brendan Ross, who 2 second places, but probably not too happy, I guess, with the way you went about it this evening, I would imagine. It did look like you were struggling a little bit out there. You did make some mistakes, but despite that, you're still able to nab some pretty handy points out there.
Yeah, pretty quiet night, I could probably say. I don't think we got too much in a battle other than that, probably middle third of the second race. So yeah, probably a few little mistakes, but overall 2 second places, you really can't complain about that. So just keeping it quiet and just getting some points while I'm at it.
Yeah, did see obviously in that second race, were you able to keep up with Dwayne Davies for quite a large portion, but those last few laps there, you did drop away quite a bit. Did you make a couple of mistakes, or was it just your front tyres were gone and you're just unable to maintain that hot pace at the front?
Yeah, probably not able to maintain the pace. Like we tried a few things to fix the tire issues into that second race. It seemed to fix it, but then it's sort of just getting out of the rhythm, and then just sort of reverting back to using first a lot more for that last part of the race, which probably chewed up the tires. So I probably did the opposite of what I needed to do. But yeah, just couldn't keep the pace up.
Still, though, you're able to manage, well, an albeit quiet second place. I think a lot of people would certainly take that at any day of the week. And then in that second race, obviously, you did have to battle quite hard. Well, everybody except for Bretton Foley had to battle quite hard to get up to the pointy end of the field. And then you eventually got your way past that big battle pack with Steve Bolger, Coulston, and Ricky Slick and alike. And then from then on, it looked like it was a fairly quiet race for you.
Yeah, Foley's got the knack of getting in early. I wish I could follow him early, but it was a fun little pack to get through. So a little bit frustrating at sometimes, but pretty clean racing, I can say. But yeah, once we got past there, probably had the pace to pull away. You get 5 seconds on him and pretty much kept it there.
I think you probably would have been a bit glad that it took Dwayne Davies just that little bit extra time to get past Ricky Slick and give you that extra time that you needed to stay in front.
Oh yeah, if he got there 2 laps later than what I did, he would have passed me easy. He had the pace all night, so well done to him coming back with only a little practice really.
Still, 2 second places, albeit quiet. Not bad for you, and you're currently 4 points behind Bretton Foley in the championship on 77 points. So you started your championship off quite nicely.
Yeah, so just not going to fall off this season, so should be good.
Well, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
And that'll do for the interviews for now, but I'll just go through the championship standings that have been updated thanks to Bretton Foley and his magical spreadsheet. So Bretton Foley leads the championship now after 2 rounds on 81 points, followed by Brendan Ross on 77. Wayne Whitmore had an interesting night, very inconsistent. He had very good pace, but just couldn't quite have a clean enough run in either of the races to make it count. So with a 5th and a 10th, he's on 48 points. Then we have, Steve Bolger on 47. Mike Coulston, fantastic consistency for him. He's on 42 points. Dwayne Davies, after 1 round, on 41 points. Continues that up. He'll bring himself into championship contention. Then we have Turmo, nice and consistent for him. He's on 40 points, followed by Cracker on 39. He'll be kicking himself after that error in that second race there, because he had some fairly handy pace as well. He's on 39. Then we have Ricky Slick on 36. That DNF hurting him quite a bit. And then we have Brownie on 24. Glenn Miles 22. River Whisper after 1 round is on 15. And Brian Walsh on 11. Well, that just about does it from here at Automobilista Australia. But coming up this week from the group, I do believe we have the Super 2 series from Barbagallo Raceway on Thursday night, so that'll be a very interesting one. Hopefully nobody ends up going over the cliff like a certain driver did last year and ends up unable to find their way back. And I'm not sure, but we may have a TCAC event on Wednesday night. I'm not sure, but there may be that event on Wednesday. That'll be at the Adelaide Street Circuit. And on Sunday, it will be the GT3 World Challenge. That will be from the Circuit of the Americas. So, we hope to see you there, and have a good one.